Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Dreadbread. Welcome to the Space Monkey Mafia Repents of the Enemy. Today, we're going to be looking at who are the best Space Marines, going through different Space Marine chapters, I should say, going through different lists that were created online. If you are new to the hobby, you're going to see this a lot, and if you just Google up who is the best Space Marines of all time, they're going to tell you the Ultramarines. But in my opinion, the Ultramarines, no, they're not the strongest or the best. I'm not going to get into the Matt Ward stuff. If you don't know who Matt Ward is and you're extremely new, essentially, by not going into too much detail and ranting and raving about it, the guy really liked the Ultramarines, and he was a writer for GW. And he decided to put the Ultramarines on a pedestal, and because he had so much love for them and was so fanatic about them, he tarnished their image. He tarnished something that could have been, they're an okay chapter. I have a love-hate relationship with the Ultramarines because my first game, or the first thing that brought me into Warhammer 40k was, let me just turn this down a bit. Super loud on my end, but it's probably going to be super quiet on your guys' end. It's hard to tell with this, but the first real big medium that got me into Warhammer 40k, I kind of knew what it was at my local hobby shops and stuff, but the thing that really got me into it was Space Marine, and then some of my very first books that I read, because I wanted to know more about the lore, were the Graham McNeil, his books, his Space Marine books about the Ultramarines. So there are some Ultramarines and things that I like, but for the most part, to me, they aren't the greatest, they aren't the strongest, and we'll get into that in a while. But like I said, not to keep ranting and raving, but Matt Ward, he basically took the Ultramarines and cranked them up to 1,000, and it didn't really go well with the lore, and because he did what he did, it didn't really sit well with a whole lot of people, and it's kind of created this divide, and it's just kind of tarnished them forever in a way. But anyway, enough of my ranting and raving. My name is Dreadbread. For those of you who are new and popping in, I have a YouTube at Dreadbread. It's DREDD space bread over on YouTube. I do have a Twitter and all sorts of stuff. Right now, we're going to be going into, according to this article, the top 6 ultra baddies of the baddies, super coolest of the cools, the Giga Cheds of the Astartes, the bestest of the bestest. I don't know what I'm talking about anymore. Let's just read the freaking article. Let me pop this out just in case. Alright, at number 6 we have the Imperial Fists. This is by Gamerant.com. I don't know anything about this website. Could be a bunch of hogwash, it could be a bunch of patooey. I don't know. I didn't read these articles. I just know whenever you Google up who is the best Space Marine chapter now, because Warhammer is no longer, it's still a niche, but it's growing in popularity, and all the articles that I've seen that Google provides will always tell you that Ultramarines are number 1, and I want to see what other people have to think about it. So we have the Imperial Fists. I like the Imperial Fists, and that is a image either from Eternal Crusade, or that is a mod from Space Marine. Descendants of the 7th Legion, the Imperial Fists are renowned for their knowledge of siege and defense warfare. This is true. This is why they have the shield wall protocol. They have very good at what they do. As fierce adherents to the Codex Astartes and Imperial jockeying, the Imperial Fists chapter prides itself in its organizations and loyalty to the Imperium, with no fixed home. The first are mostly based on Terra itself. Terra's Earth, their mobile fortress, the Phalanx, and the Fists in their successive chapters have also developed culture whereby every couple of years the Space Marines of the respective chapters will gather and renew their bonds and oaths of friendships. I don't really think the Imperial Fist really adheres to the Codex Astartes. Uh, their Primarch basically said, screw that noise when Gilliman brought it forth. And he said, you know what? You can't break up my Legion. We're going on a crusade. And then he basically made the Black Templar. But these guys are pretty good at what they do. They're really good at defending, and so number 6 to me, it's a goodish spot. They should be in the top 5. Highly regarded by the many lords and leaders of the Imperium, the Imperial Fists enjoy quite a bit of prestige and good treatment. They're the shields that guards the realm of man, as they are renowned as humanity's best defense against impending invasion. That is true. In my opinion, this is true. Like, if you got something coming down at you and you need your homeworld defended, these are the guys you're gonna first want to call. Primarch Rogel Dawn, yep. He's thought to still be alive. He may be dead. I don't know. Number 5, we have the Space Wolves. Ooh, I don't know about that. Descendants of the 6th Legion and Masters of Warfare, revolving around assault and search and destroy objectives. The Space Wolves have a unique culture that has set them apart from most other Marine chapters. Yes, they have a very unique culture, surrounded by Norse culture. Unfortunately, that is heavily overlooked and has kind of been thrown out the window, and now it's all about like Wolverine, X-Men, we're here for the woof almost freedom that I really don't like. Firstly, the Space Wolves are thought to be an unstable gene seed. I can read the genetic material needed to make badass. Okay, we don't need to read that. And resulting is a mutation known as the Canis Helix. I don't know if is that really a mutation. I thought that was something that they purposely did. It does not give them werewolf abilities. It does heighten their aggression. They can get mutated and become wolfen. I mean, these guys, they like close combat. They're not very good at shooting. They're almost kind of the equivalent of orcs. Kind of. Before you go, dirtbag, what the hell are you talking about? They like melee, alright? They like to get close and personable and not really shoot if they don't have to. So the Wolfen, I believe, are the ones that went too close to the Void and their gene seed did mutate. They basically look like Wolverine, but cranked up in the Space Marine way, and I really don't like what they look like. Those who become Wolfen can turn back, and those who find it difficult can be calmed by this special wolf priest. Like I said, the Space Wolves are neat because they're based off of Nordic culture, Scandinavian culture, but the whole wolf thing over the years has gotten way out of hand, and they've really forgotten about the Nordic culture and who they're supposed to represent. They do have some pretty cool special units. I'm not going to read all of this. The Black Templars. Black Templars, in my opinion, should be higher on this, or lower, higher, whatever. They should be within the top 3, because these guys don't adhere to the Codex Astartes. These guys, their true number is unknown. I think if their Primarch ever came back, it would make Lionel Johnson look like a soccer mom with a minivan, and Dorn would come back with probably just loads and loads and loads of buses and different type of campers just filled with these guys. They are very good at close quarter combat. They are the undying fury and wrath Why does that guy have a space? I just realized that dude is probably a space wolf, and this is from, yes, this is from a Death Watch game. Because you can tell they have their chapel symbol here, and then they've got the other thing there. They're the strongest. See right there, the strongest, most powerful contender for the strongest Space Marine Legion are the descendants of the 7th Legion. However, they established close ties with basically the Church of 40k. I'm gonna actually turn off this music. It's bugging my ability to read and to think. I do like this music. I just forgot to turn it off. Alrighty. A very good book to read would be, if you want to know more about these guys, I definitely recommend picking up the book Hell's Reach, or at least listening to the audiobook. The audiobook is very, very good. You will definitely get a feel for these guys. These guys really don't care about humans that much. At the best of times, humans can be used as bait to draw out the enemy, and at the worst of times, they're just in the way. Seen as liberators and conquerors, much of the Black Templars' military prowess strength relies on its mass assault and planetary invasions. Like I said, these guys are a crusade chapter, which means they are flaced. God, I can't speak. They are space fleet. They're a space fleet chapter, and they just, who knows how many of these guys there are. Dark Angels, like I said, Dark Angels and Black Templar are definitely within in my opinion, the top 5. I mean, these guys may actually be number 1, just in numbers. The Dark Angels pretty much were the first Legion. Most powerful and mysterious Space Marine chapters. They're the very descendants of the very first Space Marine chapter. These guys were given pretty much all the best equipment and weapons to play around with in the early days, and they still have that. And they have special different little groups within their chapter. They've got a lot of Terminator armor. They like using plasma weapons. They're very good at what they do. See here. Yep, I'm not going to read all of this article. Blood Angels. Blood Angels are a pretty good chapter. This author or person, I don't know if it's lady. I know one of these is written by a lady. I think it's the second one I have up here, which you guys can't see. Another chapter that specializes in close combat. Blood Angels are also known for their aerial assaults and shock tactics. Being descendants of the 9th Legion, the Blood Angels have a genetic defect known as the Red Thirst that triggers a condition known as the Black Rage. Well, these guys are pretty much vampires, if you can't tell. They basically will need to drink blood or siphon out their blood with fresh blood. The Black Rage, though, this warlike frenzy, that I think, no, I don't think, I'm not going to say I don't think, that actually happened because of what happened with Sanguinius and Horus. Horus killed Sanguinius, spoilers, but that's kind of well known, and his death causes the Black Rage, which went throughout his entire legion. Basically, they start thinking that they are Sanguinius, and they start calling everybody Horus. Horus, why'd you betray me? And they go into pretty much a berserk mode where they have to slaughter and kill everything, and they're put into a special division. And that special division is led by a special chaplain, and they are hoarded and grouped together and unleashed in suicide missions, because after eventually they become really hard to control, and it's basically best for them to die in combat than attacking their own brothers. Like Frenzy, unlike their Space Wolf cousins, Blood Angel Marines also experience Black Rage and cannot tell friend from foe, just like I said, and they will kill anything within that range. Yep, was triggered by Blood Angel Primaris Sanguinius, yes. Was killed by the traitor Horus at the climax of the Horus Heresy. Like I said, those Marines who become inflicted are reformed into Death Company. I like Death Company. The closest thing to Death Company is the successor squad, which is the Flesh Tearers. I really like the Flesh Tearers. I like them much, much better. They're cooler, in my opinion, than the Blood Angels. Dante is the only one that does not drink blood. He doesn't like it. He's really old. He is one of the oldest living Space Marines still alive for the Loyalists, but he did not actually fight with Sanguinius or anything like that. But he's pretty old by Loyalist standards. Recently, the Chapter Master Dante was able to repel a Hive Tyrant fleet with the help of the sudden appearance of the Great Rift, as well as Rebooted Gilliman and his Ultramarines. In the aftermath, Gilliman designated Dante as the new regent of the Imperial Nihilus, comprising multi-sectors and planets. Okay, that's neat, that's awesome. And now, like I said, the Ultramarines, the poster boys of Games Workshop. The original poster boys of Games Workshop were the Blood Ravens, but for whatever reason, GW didn't like them, and and the whole thing with Matt Ward did not help. These guys were originally created to be a jack of all trades, from what I have read. They were supposed to be kind of a neutral group within the Astartes to help new players. They are the descendants of the 13th Legion. Gilliman has been brought back to life. They do have a buttload of successor chapters, and that is because the Ultramarine seed is the easiest to produce. However, it's the Night Lord's gene seed that is the purest of them all, which is the hardest to corrupt and turn to chaos, or be corrupted by chaos. That is why that even in the Night Lords, excuse me again, that is even why in the Night Lords, like in their little group of Chaos Space Marines, a lot of those who become possessed or become demonically possessed or start growing weird mutations are either right out killed by their brothers or just seen as weak, or they're put into suicide squads and are sent out to go die a horrible death. But those who are still smart realize this is going to go it's not good to be with other Night Lords, so they'll go out and they'll join other small war bands, or they'll join Abaddon and his little boys in the Black Legion. This right here, the Ultramarines are also known in possession of 500 planets within their sphere of influence. Gilliman is a empire builder. However, this number 500 I don't think is accurate anymore. We can actually say it's not accurate anymore because of the Plague Wars. The Plague Wars put a giant dent in the Ultramarines' armor. We do know that for a fact. I know a lot of people are going to go say, Dreadbread, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. Yes, I actually do on this part, because when you have the Death Guard come to your front door, even if you are able to shoo them off, you're still going to have effects from the Death Guard being on your planet. You're going to have issues with diseases and weird demonic plant life and all sorts of other things, and even though the Death Guard was not successful at taking out Ultramar, they did take out certain planets that were crucial to the Ultramarines. And they also took out several well-known Space Marine chapters, as well as new Space Marine chapters that I guess had been around for a while, but weren't really talked about. One of the most famous examples of the chapters they took out were the Minotaurs, however you say that. Their 7th company, Death Guard 7th company, took them out, completely tainted their gene seed. I don't know what it's called. Gene seed bank. sacred place, wherever they store their gene seed, that all got contaminated with Nurgle's happy goo time sickness, and even the surviving members of the Minotaur chapter were forced to flee to try to get to Terra. Yes, they did get the first batch of Primaris Marines. However, it is known that Bellius Krull did not have access to all of the original gene seeds himself, so there were a lot of Primaris successor chapters to other chapters that have, like I said, Ultramarine gene seed in them, and the Minotaurs being one of them. And the few that did survive actually had to sacrifice themselves to try to preserve their gene seed. I don't know if that was successful or not, but the majority of the Minotaurs now should be, according to lore, should be all Primaris, with the firstborn completely dead. But yeah, so these guys, the reason why I don't think the Ultramarines are the strongest faction, in my opinion, is because, like I said, they're kind of a jack of all trades. And the other thing with them is these guys, in countless books and things that I've read about them, they easily get defeated because a big part or a big flaw of their chapters, they have to play everything by the book. They have to do everything by the rules, and that makes them predictable. And being predictable is not a good thing, especially if you're fighting heretics, especially fallen Space Marine chapters, because those guys have been fighting for such a long time. They're able to adapt. They're able to read their movements. And it's just not a good time for these guys. Another thing with the Space Marine chapter, I know it sounds like I'm dumping on them. I have, like I said, I have a love-hate relationship with them because I think they have the potential to be really cool, but they're just kind of meh and bland in my taste. I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, is the Greco-Roman influence on them. So something that has happened quite a few times is you'll get a Ultra Gigamarine Chad who will not follow the Codex Astartes and will do something to save the chapter, whether it's fighting off Tyranids or Necrons or stopping a warp storm or something. And then, just like in true Roman fashion, if you become too powerful, you become, the emperor. At the time, the Roman Empire or government would say, you're a little bit dangerous. We don't like that. And in real history, you'd get killed. In the lore, though, in Games Workshop, you probably have somebody named Leandrus call up the Inquisition, and then you get taken away. Or you get stripped from the chapter, and you're sent on a repentive quest. Or they just, they kill you and purge your gene seed because you didn't follow the Astartes rulebook. But anyway, that is one of the chapters, and I'm sorry if my voice is getting a little hoarse, or if I'm just ranting and raving and saying a lot. I don't know why I'm doing that today, but I am. I'm actually going to switch over here to just chatting for one momento, and we are going to switch out the website. Bam! Now, this next one is from Joyfreak. The 5 most powerful Space Marine chapters of Warhammer 40k. Alrighty. Boom! Oh, I need to move that up a little. As you can see, the same picture. A lot of these use the same pictures. This one was written by Melissa Adams. And I'm actually probably going to break this up, so I'm going to redo my YouTube intro. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Dreadbread, and welcome to the Space Monkey Mafia. I cannot speak today. Today, we're looking at lists throughout the internet of the most powerful Space Marine chapters. We just got done with Gamerant. Now we are at Joyfreak, and this is Melissa Adams. She wrote this on May 10th, 2022. And here we go. The Warhammer universe has and continue to inspire innumerable other fantasy and sci-fi worlds, if not most well known for the cherished series in the popular gaming culture. The Space Marines are undoubtedly the most well known group in Warhammer 40k, with their armored super soldiers pouring gunfire and death onto mankind's foes. Why, it's not really. They're not really shooting guns, but okay. I'm not going to go into that facet. Over the years, numerous Space Marine chapters have been have been represented in games, books, and animated films, reflecting the grimdark battle history of the universe of Warhammer 40k. The heroic struggles of the voracious Space Marine chapters has continued to inspire hope among the beleaguered combatants within the Imperium and fans of the fiction, despite being weakened by the events of the Horus Heresy, which was, if you're new to this, it was a civil war that happened, and under continual danger from all sides. Though the question of whether the Space Marine chapter is the most powerful term in military might, resources, and influence might still be asked. So on this one, right off the bat is something that I agree with in the terms of sheer numbers, would be the Black Templars. Because like I said, they don't follow any of the rules that Yellowman sent. And like I said in my previous chapter, if you take Lionel Johnson and you brought back Dorn, Lionel Johnson and his Legion would look like a mom in a soccer mom in a minivan, while Dorn would come with just loads of buses and campers and God whatever, any oversized vehicle or pickup trucks just carrying loads and loads and loads of Black Templar, because like I said, they don't follow the Codex Astartes, and they do whatever they want, and they basically said screw the Codex Astartes, like right here, and chose to be a crusade fleet. And so, who knows how many there are out there. The Black Templars, who are successor of the 7th Legion and are experts in close-quarter warfare, famed for their righteous zeal and teachings, are other serious contenders for the greatest Space Marine Legion. The Black Templars utilize and overcome beliefs such as the Codex Astartes, just like I ranted about, that limit the Space Marine numbers and power because they have built close relations with the Church of Warhammer 40k, with the representations on council being of huge members. Yes, their numbers are still ever growing. Some of this was just exactly what I read over there. Space Wolves. Space Wolves are the descendants of the 6th Legion, Masters of Soul. Yep. Again, this is exactly word for word of what we read over there. But they are good at finding things, destroying things, raiding planets, leaving planets, and just being brutal as hell. And it's going to talk about the Calyx Helix, which gives them... Why do they keep calling it werewolf and werewolf abilities? It just makes them faster and stronger and enhances their eyesight, smell, and taste. It's not freaking... They can transform into a giant wolf. The Wolfen mutated because they were too close to the Eye of Terra. They can't turn back into humans. So that's a thing. I didn't think they could revert. So those who become Wolfen can revert, and those who... Maybe I'm wrong about that, but I didn't think the Wolfen could revert. But like I said, I like the Space Wolves because of their Nordic culture. What I don't like about the Space Wolves is how it's dropped the Nordic culture and has just embraced this weird Wolverine, Wolfman, almost furry fandom. And if you are a furry out there and that's your thing, good for you. I'm not trying to be mean or nasty. Everyone's got their thing that floats their boat. I just don't like how the Space Wolves have pretty much, everything's about wolf. The Wolfen time, the Wolfen time, the Wolfen cookies, the Wolfen dessert, the Wolfen lemonade. What happened to that Nordic stuff? That's what they were supposed to be based off of. Number 3, the Ultramarines. The Ultramarines for me will always be like, they deserve to be in the top 10, but not in the top 5. And I've already gone over a rant in that. I'm not going to talk about the Matt Ward stuff. They have, again, I don't know if she copied this from Joyrant or Gamerant, or if they hired her to do the Gamerant thing too. But, you know, the Ultramarines are about courage and honor, and they are a jack of all trades. But what makes them extremely, extremely what puts them at an extreme disadvantage is that they have to always go by the Astartes Codex, and that makes them predictable a lot. And this has been brought up in lore and in other books and things like that, where Ultramarines will have a hard time fighting Space Marine Legionnaires because the Legionnaries have adapted over time where the Ultramarines have not, and if they encounter something they really don't know how to handle, they will have a serious bad time. I don't know what that was. Hopefully that didn't. I'll have to go look at that later. It'll give them a series of bad time, and a lot of their really cool duelists and things like that have had bad times. Sorry, I'm getting distracted because these forums are full of different ads, and I've got something down here asking me to chat with somebody, and whatever that hell was that was going on, I forgot what I was talking about. But if they come across a fighter that fights dirty, they're not going to have a good time fighting them. If they're coming across, no, I don't want Amazon. Go away. Amazon Fresh stores. But like I said, they don't have a good time fighting people that are able to adapt and fight dirty or fight differently than what they are known for. Yes, they had 500 worlds. That number is probably not 500 anymore because of the Plague Wars and everything that happened in the Plague Wars. And they do have the most gene seed out there that is easy to be reproduced. Dark Angels are number 4. Dark Angels should have been on this list at number 3. Ultramarines should have been at number 5. That's just me. Dark Angels are descendants of the first Space Marine chapter, and they basically have all the fun toys. They have all the plasma weapons. They have all of the Terminator, like the best Terminator armor, the plasma weapons, you name it. They were the first ones to get it. They're very good at what they were doing. They like fighting in close combat too. They have all sorts of cool things that they can do. The Blood Angels. Blood Angels are pretty cool. You know who the Blood Angels are. They're descendants of the 9th Legion. They're the boys of Sanguinius, the vampires. Again, I think it's really weird that I'm seeing this article is almost identical to the article that I just read. They have Death Company, which are basically those who have been driven to the Black Rage. The Black Rage, if you're new to the Warhammer 40k, when Sanguinius, their Primarch, died by Horus, his death rippled out through their entire legion. And basically, after a while, they will be driven mad, not by the thirst of blood, but they'll be driven mad, and they start to have visions where they no longer are themselves. They think they are Sanguinius going after Horus, and they will no longer be able to tell friend from foe, and they're put into special they're put into special squadrons, and they're sent basically on suicide missions to rip and tear and to basically annihilate anything that stands in their path until none of them are eventually left standing. And again, Dante is second only to the Primarch Gilliman. Oh, that's not true anymore because now we have the Lionel Johnson, but that was true for a very long time because Chapter Master Dante was considered one of the oldest living loyalist Space Marines out there for a while. Alrighty. And that was that chapter. So again, I Black Templar is a good fit. I would have probably had the Space Wolves at 3, Dark Angels at 2, Blood Angels at 4, and Space Marines at 5. Melissa has been playing video games for as long as she can remember, starting journalism in 2019. It's very, very weird that your article was almost exactly the same as not Joyrant, Gamerant. But let's just pop back over here. And we're just going to go to Just Chatting real quick while I pop up the last of the last ones that I'm going to do, which is done by Ranker. Ranker is very notorious for very, very bad lists. So we're going to see what they have to say, and I'll be right back.